It has always been the dream of man to fly the skies alongside the winged creatures of the earth. At the turn of the 20th century, the Wright brothers took to the skies for the first time in human history. This flight was unprecedented. Aircraft became humanity's gateway to the heavens and has served to connect people worldwide ever since. Within the span of a few years, aviation advanced beyond even man's wildest dreams. It was an exciting new era in human history, one of constant pursuit of improvement, one where pioneers came forward with regularity. And Igor Sikorsky was one of the greatest pioneers of them all.
He was born in Russia in May of 1889, just in time to come of age as the field of aviation was taking off. His father, Ivan Alexeyevich Sikorsky, encouraged his son to study science and engineering and gradually kindled a passion in young Igor. As a young boy, Sikorsky's father took Igor to Germany, where he learned of the first crude flying machines. Most of them didn't even fly, or only managed to get a few feet off or along the ground. This was the spark of his undying fascination with aviation. He craved knowledge about how and why these flying machines worked, or didn't. Sikorsky started coming up with ideas. His greatest was adapted from Leonardo da Vinci's rotary winged screw design. Da Vinci had a sketchbook, and it contained depictions of a primitive rotary aircraft, but he was never able to build a working model. Sikorsky's father had introduced the design to Igor as a young boy. When Sikorsky saw this, he realized Da Vinci was onto something. He saw the rotor design that Da Vinci drew, and, using 20th century technology, he believed that he could bring it to life. Around age 11, Sikorsky created his first prototype, a small, toy-like contraption powered by a rubber band. Sikorsky had dreams for his aircraft, and it marked the beginning of his long and storied career in aviation. However, his dream would not come to be. At least, not yet. Following the Wright brothers' first flight in 1903, Sikorsky, who was 14 at the time, started to become actively involved in the design and production of aircraft. In this exciting new age of aviation innovation, new features and designs were incorporated as the industry made giant strides. But when Sikorsky attempted to incorporate his own vision of rotary flight into his designs, he ran head-on into the established design conventions of fixed-wing and dirigible aircraft. From then, he worked within the aviation establishment, designing such innovative aircraft as the Legrand, the first four-engine aircraft with an enclosed cockpit. But even as he created a series of innovative designs, Sikorsky always kept one idea at the back of his mind: the helicopter.
Sikorsky would have to put his dreams on hold in 1919, as the Russian Communist Revolution was underway and he feared for his life. He emigrated to America with $600 to his name to avoid violence by radicals. Within 4 years, he had gathered the financial backing needed to create the Sikorsky Aero Engineering Corporation on a farm near Roosevelt Field on Long Island, New York. His company would receive more financial backing when the United Aircraft Corporation took them on as a division. Between 1931 and 1934, he would design the Flying Clipper and the S-42, which were some of the first transoceanic passenger planes. Many big airlines noticed his success, and Pan American Airways awarded Sikorsky a contract. With the helicopter still in mind, he decided to start drawing up his designs again. He went to United Aircraft with his designs, and he was shot down the first time because so many other designers had attempted and failed to produce. However, with United Aircraft in a severe depression, they allowed Sikorsky to go through with a low-budget design, and it paid off. In 1939, Sikorsky developed the VS-300, the first practical helicopter design at his plant in Stratford, Connecticut. This design would make him the father of rotorcraft flight. It would also convince the United Aircraft Corporation and the world of the practicality of rotor-wing aircraft. With his new support, he would design the R-4 Hoverfly, which would be the world's first production helicopter in military history, and it would make its combat debut in Burma during the Second World War.
From then on, the helicopter was ascendant on the battlefield. After 2 decades of refinement and limited action in Korea, helicopters were used to their fullest capability by both sides, in combat and non-combat roles. Sikorsky's passion for vertical flight was fueled by the knowledge that helicopters could perform tasks that airplanes would never have the maneuverability to accomplish. His original intent was that the helicopters could be used for humane purposes, that wounded men on the front lines could be brought back for treatment, that casualties could be shipped home to provide families the closure of a funeral. By the time of the Vietnam War, though, Sikorsky no longer had a monopoly on the idea of rotary flight. Aviation giants such as Bell, Boeing, and others had all branched out to helicopters, and they pushed the development of the aircraft as weapons. Whether by arming them with guns and rocket pods or fitting them with hooks to airlift artillery and armor into the thick of battle, the attack helicopter became yet another part of the military's arsenal. This became the reason for the mounting casualties of Vietnam and other wars. The destruction that Sikorsky saw his helicopter create began to take a toll on him. He had been raised a devout Eastern Orthodox Christian, and seeing his invention take the lives of thousands caused him to sink into a sort of existential crisis. To combat it, he turned to his faith. Over the years, he wrote a number of analytical pieces, tracts, and commentaries on Eastern Orthodox ethics and spirituality. One of them, The Message of the Lord's Prayer, would become one of his most famous letters. He would explain this small part of the Bible in great detail. Throughout the piece, he reconciled his life's work, reasoning that the helicopter was his way to serve God, those close to him, and society at large. It was and is a sort of seminal work in orthodoxy.
With his faith reassuring his work, Sikorsky continued to advance helicopter technology, and its influence on the modern world seemed limitless. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Sikorsky continued to improve the field of aviation and the lives of others globally. However, Mr. Sikorsky began growing older and his health began to deteriorate, so he began reflecting on his life. On October 25, 1972, Mr. Sikorsky, at the age of 83, would write a letter to Jerome Lederer regarding rescue missions in Sao Paulo. I quote, "Dear Mr. Lederer, please accept my sincere thanks for your recent letter and for the enclosure describing the Sao Paulo helicopter rescues. I had it read to me and found it interesting indeed. I always believed that the helicopter would be an outstanding vehicle for the greatest variety of life-saving missions, and now, near the close of my life, I have the satisfaction of knowing that this proved to be true. It was good hearing from you, and I thank you again for sending me this information. With kindest personal regards, sincerely, Igor Ivanovich Sikorsky." End quote. That was the last letter he would write. He passed away the next morning on the 26th. He died knowing that his creation, from his direction and leadership, served mankind well.
His groundbreaking innovations in technology were able to save people in ways people could only dream of before. The mobility of helicopters is what has defined them as aircraft. Helicopters provide precision in tentative operations where help needs to be provided quickly. For example, when Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast in 2005, Sikorsky and other helicopters were dispatched for search and rescue missions that saved over 6,000 people from their destroyed homes.
By single-handedly jump-starting the helicopter industry, helicopters made by the Sikorsky Company and dozens of other adopters of the technology have found their way into the arsenal of nearly every military force on the planet. Equally, if not more important, is the ability to save lives. An estimated 2 million people have had their lives saved by helicopters at Sikorsky, and a number will be undoubtedly increased. In the process of developing and producing his world-changing technologies, he laid the groundwork for his Sikorsky Corporation to become a corporate giant worth over $7 billion that employs over 15,000 people. Sikorsky once said, "The helicopter approaches closer than anything else to fulfillment of mankind's ancient dream of flying horse in the magic carpet." By wrangling this mythical desire of man into reality, Igor Sikorsky was not only able to realize his lifelong dreams, but to cement his legacy as an innovator who toiled in the now vindicated hope that his work could change the world. The work of the individual still remains the spark that moves mankind ahead. Igor Sikorsky.